There are two changes happening in early years right now, and most settings have only properly absorbed one of them. Ofsted published its renewed inspection toolkit in 2025, and it's been used for inspection since November 25. Safeguarding is now judged on its own, met or not met, no middle ground. Inclusion has its own grade for the first time, and the inspection window is moving to every 4 years, not 6, with new providers normally seen within 18 months of registration. At the same time, the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act 2026 has royal assent. It strengthens multi-agency child protection arrangements in every local authority, and early years is included, not just schools. 2 changes, 1 requirement. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that requirement is and what it means for your setting. If you don't know me, I'm Lyon, founder of On the Button, a former Ofsted inspector myself, and I wanted to take you through what's changed since September 25 and what's coming from the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act 2026, and the one thread that ties both of these together. Because once you can see the thread, you'll know precisely where to focus your time between now and your next inspection rather than guessing it. Let's start with what's actually changed. In September 25, the EYFS statutory framework was strengthened. Safer recruitment, whistleblowing, paediatric first aid, safer eating all got tighter expectations. Then Ofsted inspection toolkit changed. 3 things matter here. Safeguarding now is its own judgment, met or not met. If safeguarding isn't met, nothing else can compensate for that. Inclusion has its own grade for the first time, and inclusion isn't only about SEND. It's about every child facing any kind of barrier. And the inspection window is tightening. Settings are moving to a 4-year inspection window instead of 6, and new providers are normally seen within 18 months of registration. None of that asks for new paperwork. What it is asking is whether good practice happens consistently by everyone and whether you can show it. Now layer the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act 26 on top. It received royal assent on the 29th of April this year, with implementation coming in stages. It strengthens multi-agency child protection arrangements in every local authority, and early years settings are included in that, not just schools. There's new statutory duty to share information about children's safety and well-being, and a single unique identifier is being piloted with the aim of connecting records across services. So what does all that mean for inside of your setting? Let me break it down into points that matter most. Point 1. Safeguarding being judged as met or not met means that every small concern matters. The safeguarding lesson is that serious concerns are often easier to understand when smaller concerns have been noticed, logged and connected. So the question isn't, do we have a policy? It's, does every member of staff every day know how to notice something and get it logged? Point 2. Inclusion has its own grade, and it sits right next to safeguarding for a reason. A child facing a barrier, whatever the barrier is, may also be more vulnerable. Inspectors are asking one question across both areas. What is it like to be this child here now? That means risk assessments that generally reflect the child in front of you, not a generic form, and a record of how that child and their family are actually coping. Point 3. When the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act's multi-agency arrangements ask you what you knew and what you did, your records are your answer, not your memory of events, your records. 4. Children's welfare and wellbeing now has its own evaluation area too, and inspectors also look at how leaders support staff's wellbeing and professional development. A team under pressure can't give children the attention well-being asks for. 5. Underneath all of this sits the things that were always true and are now being checked harder. Written complaints are investigated and resolved within 28 days with a record kept. Safer recruitment records. Training records where everything is up to date and compliant. Now I want to be really clear about something. Almost every setting I work with is doing generally good work. Every single day, staff notice things, they act, they care. What's changed is the expectation that this can be shown consistently by anyone asked. Inspectors don't only put the question to leaders, they'll ask practitioners directly, what happens if you have a concern? And the answer needs to match what the leaders would say. With the inspection window moving to every 4 years instead of 6, and new providers are normally seen within 18 months of registration, there's less runway than there used to be to tidy things up before Ofsted come. The system either holds day to day or it doesn't. And with the early years market already under scrutiny on cost and transparency, this also is about trust with families, with your local authority and with your own team. A setting where everyone can show the system works isn't a setting that's worried about inspection. It's a setting that's confident in front of it. This is exactly why On the Button was built in the way it is. Every concern, whether it's a safeguarding worry, a wellbeing note or a whistleblowing entry, gets logged in the moment in guided fields built specifically for early years, not a generic form. Senior staff are alerted instantly, whether they're on site or not, for safeguarding and whistleblowing, all with its own confidential route. From there, actions and outcomes stay attached to the concern. So the chronology builds itself as practice happens rather than it being constructed afterwards. Wellbeing notes for children and for staff sit alongside safeguarding, separate from learning journals and not within management software, with a daily digest to show small shifts while they're still small. And underneath it all, the safer recruitment trail, the training matrix with renewal alerts and the instant read-only reports means that when someone asks for evidence, whether that's an inspector, the multi-agency team or your own directors or committee, it's already there. Settings using On the Button aren't building a case for inspection day. They're just carrying on and the evidence is what's left behind. If you've watched this far, you already care about getting this right, and that puts you ahead of where most settings are. To help, we've put together a short guide called For Ofsted-readiness. It covers safeguarding, wellbeing, inclusion, complaints and compliance, mapped against the updated inspection toolkit and the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act of 2026. You can get a copy at weareonthebutton.com/Ofsted-6-26. It's hot off the press. Share it with your team, especially anyone who holds the DSL role. And if you've got questions about any of this, drop them in the comments. I read every one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.